Well, I guess we are on and we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of iTalks. I hope everyone had a fantastic day and are ready to kickstart this event as much and me, Stephanie, and Natali are. Uh, and yet, today we are talking about UX enterprise. We have a practical guide for you coming up on this event. And as always, I have our beautiful Natali uh, from High Interactive. And we also have our special guest today. She's Stéphanie Walter. She's a UX researcher and interactive designer at Malten Consulting, and she is here today to help us with this high talk. So, hi Stephanie, hi Natalie, how are you both doing?
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Okay,
fine.
okay, and as for the ones at home, we are ready to kickstart this. But before we do, let me ask you for a quick support for High Interactive's YouTube channel. Give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and interact with us on the chat. We will be more than happy if you do so. And
Yes,
yeah,
have a Q&A at the end, right?
yeah. I was going to talk about that, Natalie. During this presentation, you can leave all of your questions on the chat box at your right or below, wherever you are checking it from. So yeah, and Stephanie and Natalie are more than welcome to answer all of your questions. So please, if you have any type of question, any type of doubt, drop them. No problem. Stephanie and Natalie are here for you. So yeah, Natalie, can you lead this I talk on?
Yes, sure. So, as João has said, we hope you're ready to tackle the unique complexities of enterprise UX, because in this video cast will be all about practical guide for enterprise UX and well, looking for the main challenges. Well, gone are the days of straightforward design projects. Most of us know, and well, we Stephanie sure will share with us a lot of her insights and challenges with enterprise UX, with diverse user groups, integrate legacy systems, and organizational structures that resemble mazes. But fear not that we have today with us Stéphanie Walter. For those that don't know her, she will share her knowledge and strategies to navigate those challenges. As me and Joan personally, we don't know Stephanie, but well, we reach out to her because we saw that she shares a lot of resources and knowledge about the topic and others like accessibility research. So we are in good hands. And what can you expect for today? Well, we will talk a little bit about challenges in defining user needs in these specific cases, balancing innovation and legacy systems, prioritizing usability and business goals, and at the end, as João already shared with you, we will have our Q&A. So, are you ready to conquer the challenges and unlock the potential of the enterprise UX? Join me as your host of this exciting quest and let's make a user experience reign supreme in this enterprise world. As Ron said, remember to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a bit of this episode. And of course, if you want the other episodes that we already already have on our channel. So, Stephanie, back to you. Thanks again for accepting our invitation. We are really happy to have you. Starting with our main topic, why is enterprise UX particularly challenging compared to other UX design domains in your opinion?
I would say first because it's not taught that much in school. So maybe let's start by defining enterprise UX, which is basically the design of tools and products and services used on a daily basis by people inside enterprises. So usually it has this idea of those very ugly, boring tools, things like that. And I've talked to a lot of people. I've had plenty of mentees, and often they're like, I was taught about how can I design e-commerce websites, and I was taught how to design native application, like very, very B2C stuff in school. And then when they arrive in the real world, they're like, oh, I have to work for this company and they're doing, I don't know, stuff inside chemical plants where you need to have this little thingy inside the chemical to get the temperature and all of that. And the UI is so complex and I'm not equipped with that. So I would say the main challenge is often people are very, very scared because they arrive in these very complex environments where there's a lot of things going on. It might also be environments where you have a mix between physical devices and digital ones. And then you're like, okay, what can I do? How do I tackle all of that? And then there's usually a lot of complexity you need to understand before even starting to build or design anything. So there's a lot of domain
business before, right?
Yeah, there's like domain knowledge. I don't know if that's clear, like the knowledge about the domain that you need to work on. Like I've worked with client who was in the crane industry. I knew nothing about cranes, so they had to explain to me how does a crane work, because my goal was to design basically a tool that was for crane monitoring. And it was like you have the position of different cranes in real time on a construction site, and it's used for monitoring. And they had to explain to me how do they get the data, how do cranes work, and how do they even trace the stuff that if there's too much wind, the cranes goes into one mode where it's able to spin. Otherwise, the wind might like have the crane fall. And I have so much random knowledge about so many industries now. Like I worked in the car industry. I don't even have a driving license, but like, so yeah, complexity, and you need to acquire a lot of domain knowledge before even starting. And this can be very, very scary for, I think, a lot of people.
Yes, and I think that for our experience here in High Interactive is sometimes because of the constraints and the context of real users, like you said, in physical context, it's really hard to get to them, to collect information of them. They are in a base in the middle of the ocean, and how can we saw or went to see a worker in their context using a specific thing that we need to improve, right?
Yeah.
And we have all these challenges working with enterprise domains in design, but we also have a lot of misconceptions about enterprise. What do you think would be the most common ones?
I think the most common ones is people don't care about UX or design. And it's been a myth for a lot of years because, like, basically, yeah, often the end users don't have any choice. You'll have either some IT people who will build the tool and the end user have to use it, or you'll have software as a service tool, looking at you, SAP, among any other things. I don't have anything against SAP, but it's like when you say SAP, people know the kind of software usually you talk about. But yeah, you'll have some people who decide to buy this kind of softwares, and the end users are a little bit stuck with that. So there's this misconception that you can just do tons of change management and kind of force the users within the systems. But the thing is, it might have been true a couple of years ago, but today you have people who compare. Like I work at a bank and I have a lot of users who are like, we don't understand why we have these old school tools while at home we can collaborate on a Google Doc, for instance. Or when I was working in a private bank, we had that and that amazing tools. Why can't we have such things? Like, why is the stuff not usable. And it's the same everywhere I went, where you have people who actually they do care about design and they do care about being efficient. And usually when you're doing good design, it's not just about the colors and making things pretty, it's about making sure that people can do what they need to do in an efficient way.
Yes.
And this is more and more true. You have enterprise users who demand better tools, and they're right. At the end of the day, if you have like old school tools and I need to copy paste the same information 3 times, it's 3 places where they might introduce errors, which can be a big problem if you work with, I don't know, bank data, insurance data, health data, things like that.
Yes.
So I think that that's the misconception, like we don't care about design in such environments because the user don't have a choice. They might not have a choice, but they would be very, very happy and grateful if they could do their work with less errors, less time maybe, and be able to do kind of other kind of things around. So
And
that's the
they
main
would
thing, I
be
think.
more efficient, and they could
Yeah,
automate work and be available to concentrate in other more complex things that they couldn't do in a specific tool. So everyone will have better results, and the company will have better results and more outcome as well.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, and other thing that I think it's a misconception as well, and is good design is an expensive thing, and well, we can validate and test things before the development, before it's an error that it's uh, a really big impact to correct them. So probably we can do the other way around and try to look at the experience where we can optimize a specific product, a specific process, and make that better and faster to do for the workers that are doing something in a specific company. In your opinion, Stephanie, what do you think would be the key goals for of enterprise UX design?
Like KPI or
No, like yes, KPIs, like for example, improving user satisfaction, or other thing that comes to my mind is the adoption, right? That you were talking about.
yeah. I think it depends on where you work. So I can give you a couple of examples, but ultimately I would say you need to check with your stakeholders what are the main goals. So in enterprise, often it's efficiency. People are here to accomplish a task and they want to do it in an efficient way. But then, how do you measure efficiency is another question. For instance, is efficiency the same way as doing something fast? Do you want to do it as fast as possible, or do you want it to do it like with as many or as not many clicks as possible? Things like that. So I would say efficiency would be a measure, but then it depends on what you're working on. Like if you work, I don't know, in pharmaceuticals, for instance, efficiency might not have the same definition as someone who's working in HR and has to onboard people for to new people in the company, for instance. So I would say efficiency is one interesting thing that people are looking for. Also in efficiency, you might also have things like, as I explained before, less errors. Like people might be able to do something fast, but if they do it fast and it has a lot of errors, is it efficient? I would argue that no. So that's the thing. Is like we have this time on task and such KPIs, but at some point you need to double check this with the actual business of your domain. Do those sort of KPI make sense? And then you have like employee satisfaction, which is also becoming a thing now. You have all of those surveys. You see the company brags on LinkedIn about being nice places to work and things like that. And I think it plays a role. Like eventually, if people have the tools to do their job in an efficient way, they're more willing to stay around than to say, you know what, this is giant mess, I'm out of here. Something like that. So employee satisfaction is an interesting thing. But again, how do you measure that? So there's different surveys and tools and things like that.
Yes, and I was thinking about the specific use case, a ticketing platform that was so complex to use that, well, people use it, but when they use it, they have the adoption problem that people gave up to use it and prefer to use the phone to do it. So, and the ones that use it, it was so complex that they could not complete a full ticket without any mistakes. So they have the double work to, well, receive the request by phone, adding that on the platform, the ticketing platform, so they have something registered, and correcting the ones that were added that, well, do not correspond to the correct task. So it's a amount of work that we are adding because we didn't or because the company didn't validate all that experience. If the ones that are going to use understand the user flow that they need to do to create a new ticket, to ask for help, and so on.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like if you're in enterprise, you don't have KPIs like how many people buy your products, but you
Yes.
are paying people to do their work. So we had this fun experiment when I was working for university. The internet was not very good. So we did a fun thing where my colleague was looking for a phone number of a teacher on the internet, and I think we were on the second or third floor, and I went down to the reception to ask the people at the reception for the number, and I came back up just to see if it, like, what was the fastest. I was actually faster going down asking for them, and it's very silly, but like you imagine, if your intranet, for instance, is not efficient and people can't find something, what will they do? They will pick up the phone and they will ask assistants who might themselves search on the internet. And I think another interesting thing is if you can measure how many workaround you have within your company.
Yes,
Like you have a system, but you have people who have an Excel sheet to work around that system because the system is crap. That is also, again, we come back to efficiency, but like how many things, backdoors, stuff around your tool do you have? If you have tons of them, maybe you have a problem with the tool because it doesn't fit. If people are faster just doing something outside of the tool and bringing it back, or like finding workarounds,
it is not
that's the
responding
problem.
to the specific problem that they have. It's not
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And regarding defining user needs, right? Because I think this is a big problem with those tools. Well, we have always this to combine the user needs, the business goals, and the technology that we are using. And maybe the part that is missing on those kinds of tools is the defining the user needs. How can UX designers if effectively understand the diverse need of the users within a large enterprise?
I would say you need to first understand the domain. So often it means going to the people and asking about, do you have workflow charts? Do you have a business process that is mapped out? What does that look like? Because if you go to the users and you ask question directly, there's a good chance you might not understand the answer because you don't have the background. So I'd say you need to pair up with someone who's a specialist in the domain, whether it's someone already working within the company. We have people that we call business analysts here who do these sort of things. So I would say before starting talking to the user, the step one is not actually go to the users, is try to collect some information about how the company is expecting people to do that. And this is where the fun begins. Because you have this textbook, say, this is the business process. This is how we're supposed to do it. And then you go to the user. and you ask them, how do you do it? And sometimes it's very funny because I have the answer. I know how they're supposed to do it, but I play coy. Like, can you explain to me, or please walk me through this? Or even better, like if we're talking about interface, I'm going to do observation. I will ask them, okay, you need to do that. Show me how you do it today. Like, go share your screen, do the thing as if I was not here. I will take notes, and at the end, I will ask you some questions. So in enterprise, I think you do a lot of observation. I spent a whole day in a car dealership, for instance, and I was just like shadowing people and like asking questions about how do they do stuff today, because we needed to design a system so that they have like gigantic parking spaces and they lose the cars. So you have the cars who arrive, they park them. Normally they put the number of the space on the key, but then you have someone who needs to move a car. They move the car and they put another one, but they will not update the number on the little key. And how do I know that? Because I basically spend a day with them. Like shadowing them, shadowing different people at different process, and really understanding, okay, how do you work today, so that we can build something a little bit better, so that you stop losing cars in your giant space, and you don't need 2 hours to find a car because someone moved it and someone else moved it again. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. There's a lot of, especially in enterprise, there's a lot of observation. You might do a little bit less observation in B2C, maybe a bit. But here, for sure, if you're working with people who work on a daily basis, you need to observe them working to understand how it's done. And then, you compare what's the official process versus how do you do it today? And then you try to kind of find a common ground, I would say.
Yeah, with the observation is where we are going to find the workarounds and which parts of the process that the worker does understand, and we do it in another way that it's simpler for him, and is there when we find opportunities to improve. And this is why it's really important that we understand the business, but then go to talk with the users and understand how they do specific things. It's really important to have that moment of learning, right? Be part of. And you made some examples, like what methods do you think can be employed to gather and analyze all the insights from a wide range of stakeholders and users? Because all these activities that we can do to collect information are really useful, but we need to find a way to how we can show that to stakeholders to be meaningful for them, and to make them to work with us to improve the process or the tool or whatever we are working on.
I would say sometimes if you can show them a recording of a usability test with someone who is struggling, that would help. I would advise against live session with the stakeholders, because they will want to intervene. Like, I had stakeholders who completely threw away the data because they were like trying to help the user, which is, you see someone struggle, you want to help them. Or worse, they were telling the user, you're not supposed to do that according to the manual. You're like, no. But we told them, like, you're here as an observer, you're not supposed to say anything, but still human nature. So I would say if you can have some recording. Or another thing is you can like ask them to do the task. I know some people did that not on purpose. They had it was in a bank, and there was a whole issue with I don't remember what it was, but like changing something like a number or password or something. No one cared, and they could not find budget to change that until the big boss of the bank got stuck into this process.
Oh, okay.
He picked up the phone. I was like, what the hell is happening? Why can't I do that? It's like, yes, now you understand why we need to redesign this whole thing. So it wasn't on purpose, but I've heard some people do that on purpose. Like I don't know if it's true, but like some bank, they like disable the credit cards to show how complex it is to someone to re-enable it. So I would say you might get fired for that. So, but still, if you have some process and you have stakeholders who are willing to play, maybe you can ask them to shadow the users or even try to do the stuff themselves so that they really understand. Because it's one thing to say, yeah, we have a problem here, it's hard to do for people, and they will just dismiss it like, yeah, but you can train them, you can add some, I don't know, like manuals, you can add some links to a PDF or something. But if they have to go through the thing and see someone struggle or struggle themselves, usually this is how you really build empathy, because otherwise, yeah, people have so many things going around in their lives,
Yes,
it's
and
very complicated to empathize.
I realized from our experience, for example, for a transportation company, we did a sprint design week with them, and at the end, on the last day, we did tests, and they observed the tests, and at the last day on the afternoon, we share with the bigger group the results of that work, week of work. And the stakeholders that spend the week work with us, because they were part of the process and they understand and help us, because it is a really complex business, so we for sure need their help to understand the business and to combine that with the user needs. They were defending what we did, so that is it has a bigger impact, because they understand why we did those things, and they are part of the process. They just don't see the end result, they participate in each phase, so that can bring a really good impact at the end of a project. So, moving on. Stephanie, in your opinion, how, and bringing the part of the technical expertise, how we can, as user designers, bridge the gap between technical expertise and user empathy in a large organization? Because we have different teams, most of the times everyone is working on his project and don't know about each other. How can we create a bridge between those teams?
I think you need allies here, because you cannot know what you cannot know. So you need some other people to tell you, oh, actually, we're working on that and that. And this is usually when you try to kind of connect the dots. And if you have someone telling you, oh, I think this person is working on something, it's like, oh, I'm going to contact them and ask them. So it's kind of detective work, because in a lot of companies, it's very, very siloed. So you need to catch up the little pieces of information. And I think there's one thing that can be interesting is, the concept of service blueprints that you do usually for more than B2C. I think you can do a version of that at enterprise level I don't know if I would call that service blueprint, but the idea would be to map all the different systems and try to understand how someone will interact. Because we have a lot of systems where the users will go through different system on a daily basis, and they do not care it's not the same system, and they also do not care it's not the same team. So sometimes they come to us to complain. Yeah, because like we have a link to the other system. So they tell us, yeah, but this, like the link is okay, but the other system is broken. It's like, yay, it's not us, but we are going to redirect you to the right person. So when you're doing this whole exercise of understanding user needs, understanding their task and the daily activities, usually what I try to understand also is dependencies. What are other tools do you use, do you need? And then if I need to, I will try to go and talk to the other teams. But yeah, depending on how siloed the companies are, it's more or less easy. So this is more like
approach, right? We need
yeah.
to find someone that could be an advocacy for groups to understand what we are doing and bring the teams together. It's a process inside the process.
Yeah, but like start by mapping the different tools and usually who is responsible for what. This is where the service blueprints comes back, because in the service blueprint you will map the different kind of channels and you will map who does what. But here instead of channels you will map tools, and then you try to find bridges. And then it's politics, you know. Like I know that sometimes we did some stuff for someone else because we were nice, and we know that the day we need them to do something for us, it
Yes,
will
creating
be
relationships
easier.
between the different teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another question. Well, we have different teams, and most of the time in specific projects that we are doing, people at the first site, they get afraid. They can be afraid because, well, probably we can represent a change, or I don't need to do this work anymore and I am going to get fired. So this is a challenging part. How can we, as UX designer, introduce innovative features and designs while maintaining compatibility, compatibility with existing legacy systems? Because most of the times in this company they have a big legacy systems, right?
Mm. It depends on what you call innovation, because we had like one tool that was so old that you couldn't send a link. So everything was done in Ajax and the stuff inside was refreshing. So it was always the same URL. And one of the main unique selling point and innovation, big air quotes, of the new tool is now you can share everything because everything has a URL. Which is, yeah, the web has been working like that for years, but no, the users are super happy. And the fact that they didn't have any way to share direct URLs, they asked for things like they wanted to have a PDF version of the page. But they didn't really care about the PDF. They just wanted to be able to share the data. So they would screenshot part of the page to send to colleagues, things like that. So sometimes you're like, you're looking for innovation, like we want AI, we want, I don't know, Google, the new glasses from Apple and all of that. Like, yeah, you know, let's start with the basics. Like, let's bring those people to kind of having everything digitalized and not printing PDFs anymore. And then, so for me, it's interesting to say because you have all those buzzwords, but at the end of the day, if you build something amazing with an AI and their kind of back channel Excel sheet is more efficient, doesn't matter if you have the coolest tool, the coolest AI. If they will be more efficient with the Excel sheet, they will keep the Excel sheet.
Need to
So
be
it's
relevant, right?
yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you want to bring innovation, you need to be super careful because it's not the kind of area where people will jump on innovation just because it's cool. They want to be efficient. And if your chatbot or your AI or whatever you want to use to, I don't know, summarize something is not as good as what they have today, which is low tech or their kind of side tools, they will not adapt it. So it's really about if you want to bring innovative features, it's an amazing idea, but you need to be very, very careful and make sure you kind of bridge the gaps. And then you have, of course, change management, which is a big topic.
Yeah. We will need another high talks to talk about
Oui.
that. Yeah, and I was thinking, well, about innovation, which features we are going to implement that, well, make sense and be relevant and really solve the problems that the company has at the moment on specific task. How can we, well, talking about prioritizing usability and achieving at the same time business goals, how can we effectively communicate the value of user-centered design to a non-design stakeholder within an enterprise?
I think we come back to building empathy. So you need to make them understand the value here. And at some point, I think a lot of things that work in companies, you need a small win. So you need to have kind of a small project so that people understand the value. Because often in enterprise, what happens is you don't have designers, you have mostly developers and business people. And some of them don't really care. I'm sorry, but some of them like, yeah, it's good enough. We put the button here because there was space and that's it. And people will develop it. We will do training anyway. So that's the thing. You need to help people understand the value. And usually the value is different things. It can be, okay, if we do this research, if we do this project, if we do it the right way, people will be more efficient. People will have less errors. Another thing that costs a lot of money in enterprise is support. And when I'm talking about support, I'm talking about sometimes in some companies, you have internal tools and you have people who are dedicated to the support of those tools. If the tools are super complicated to use, you'll have a lot of support. If not, then the people who do support, instead of doing support, they can do training. Can be more proactive, things like that.
Yeah.
So this is also another thing. Is like if you have a user-friendly interface, you need less training and you need usually less change management. Because people will see the value, they will be eager to go to the new project instead of staying in the old interface. So it's kind of a virtuous cycle. The thing is, you need to start the cycle. So usually you need to start maybe with a small project, or maybe not. If you don't have a small project, it can be just a small improvement somewhere. Like pick one small battle and then communicate about it.
Yeah.
With like, I don't have marketing teams because I don't need to market the stuff I do, but I actually need to do a lot of marketing inside the company to show them, okay, this is what we did. And so there's a lot of making it visible. You said before that people often don't see the value of design. Like they see the results, but they don't understand all the different steps. And I think it's important to make that visible. Like if you're going to do some user research, maybe share some things you learned during the research, things like that. Make sure people understand that you're not like a magic wand that they give you something and then there's an amazing UI. There's a process. And I think it's okay, especially in environments where UX and design maturity is very low, to communicate about the process, to make it transparent. Because then also it will generate curiosity often. People are usually super happy to learn about new things and like,
Yes,
oh, that's interesting how you do that. And
yeah. And other thing that we could do, and well, you were saying that we can communicate our activities, what we do, and we can take use of the data that we already have, the results that we have before and after the improvement that we did, and use that to share with the stakeholders, using in a way that speak their language to make them see the impact of we did with we and the entire team with their product, right? It's very, very important to adapt our language and not just talking about tactics, like I am going to this activity, and use all the buzzwords, and then nobody understand what we did. But if we show with the data the impacts of what we did, we can do, like you said, the little steps and do it more. And now we are going to improve this area, and then a bigger area, and well, yeah.
And then you are overwhelmed and I need to hire a second one and a third one. And this is how you build a team. Yay.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's spirit. So we are going to the end of this talk. Before we move on to the Q&A, I would like, in a conclusion, to ask you, Stephanie, what do you think would be some of the main takeaway?
I think she froze.
I guess we lost Natali.
We lost Natali. No.
Oh.
Okay, bring back the music.
Yeah, no,
Real
that's
life people. I told you, see? So before we went live, I explained that I usually have this meeting with a lot of people in a room, and I'm
yeah.
never in that room. And today I was in the room, and the whole team thing stopped working, and we had to like pass the computer because
Oh,
the
so
room wasn't working.
it,
So I'm sorry.
it's a curse that you brought to us.
Yes, see, I have so bad vibes with technology.
Okay, so I guess we'll wait for Natalie. I don't know. So, but like, Natalie wanted to end this, but I guess I can bring some questions to you, Stephanie.
Yeah,
And
sure.
knowing that we were like at the end part of this high talk, I wanted to ask you like, do you have any use case that was particularly challenging for you and your team, and how did you overcome those challenges, minding what you said before?
Challenging use case.
Yeah. Okay, if you
um,
can share the story, okay? So
no, I'm trying to think because I don't think I ever had like something very, very so complicated that we were like desperate. But oh yeah, I have this page.
okay.
Okay, so I have this page that is a nightmare. Basically, I don't know how many layers of data, but you have stuff inside of stuff inside of stuff inside of stuff, and the developer had to basically build a tree, which is so. And like when you see the page, you're like, how do people find anything on this page, and how are we going to migrate that? So it was kind of a giant mess because we had to retro engineer what was going on the page. It was such a headache for weeks to try to understand what was going on in there. So yeah, biggest challenge I think like in the most recent year, it was information architecture challenge basically. So I had to find people who were able to explain me what was going on the page to build a structure that would make sense for the users. And yay, how did we overcome that? We panicked first.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
Are
I've
you
seen the
good,
page like,
Natalie?
are we
Sorry,
sure? Yeah, you're back.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know what happened. I lost my connection, but continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were talking about challenges of where I had like information architecture so complex. So we
Yeah.
ended up just like tackling the page little piece by little piece like a puzzle, and then we built this kind of gigantic content model of the page that made sense and that then led us write the stories. And I think the guy who wrote the story also hated that page. Because even after the analysis and the design, it's like, you have to write the stories for that. Good luck, my friend. So yeah, Gen complex page.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to add something more, Natalie.
Oh no,
Uh,
you can go on with the last. I
we
think it's
can go
last
on.
question. I don't know.
No. I have another question to ask
Okay, go on.
Stephanie. But yeah, if the ones at home listening and watching this on our YouTube channel do have questions for Stephanie and Natalie, this is the time to do it, as we are on the Q&A part. So the last question I wanted to ask you that I have here, Stephanie, is about metrics and measuring effectiveness. Like, how do you make it work? When do projects with how do you make it work when doing projects with a short timeline?
I would say you need to define what you need to measure and find
Yeah.
the easiest tool to find it. So if you have a short timeline, usually if you want to measure something, I'm not a big fan, but surveys. So if you want to measure like effectiveness, I think you can measure effectiveness with UMUX or an UMUX Lite, which is like standardized surveys.
Okay.
So I would say what takes time in a UX project is the analysis of the data. If you have qualitative data, observation, interviews, that takes a lot of time because you need to go through it, you need to code it, you need to extract the stuff. Quantitative data is faster to analyze, and also it's faster for the users. So I would say if you don't have that much time, to measure effectiveness, I would try to find a survey that, like
Oh.
standardized surveys that help you measure that.
Okay.
It
Okay.
will not be perfect, but it will establish a baseline. The question is, do you want to measure effectiveness right now, or are you interested in measuring effectiveness now because in 2 months, 3 months, you want to measure it again and see if it evolves? So that's always my question. Do you want to measure something for the fun of measuring and showing nice data to the stakeholders? Or
Yeah.
do you actually want to measure because you want to establish a
Be able to
deadline, a
compare.
baseline? Yeah.
Okay.
So in this case, we need to have a process or a trained process where we can do these measures with the necessary activities at the beginning and at the end of the process. And should be something that would be easier to do in those 2 or 3 stages, for example, right? João, do you have any other questions?
No, I guess I'm done with the questions. And since we don't have any questions on the chat, if you have some questions while watching this on demand, I will suggest you to drop the questions on the comment section. And as soon as we get the notification that you have a question, me, Natali, or even Stephanie, we can answer the question that you have on demand also. So yeah, I guess that's it for our High Talks number 3. Thank you, Stephanie,
Yay.
for your great
Thanks
insight.
for having me.
Time.
And thanks, Natali, for another great High Talk. And yeah, I don't know if you have any final thought about this. And,
No.
and
For me, it's just to, thanks again for Stephanie to spend this hour, I think, with us to share all your experience. It was really fun. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, see you on the next one. Yeah. So thanks for the both of you again, and see you on the next one. We have another High Talk prepared for you next month. So stay tuned for all the content that we have here on our YouTube channel. And yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.